back to Sidewalk, Skyline podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rogers, and the podcast is still parked in Peterborough for at least a couple more episodes, and we'll get to other places in the new year. But on today's episode, I'm having a conversation with David Ibhaluobe, and he is a Nigerian-born. Germany was where he did post-secondary, and now he's in Canada studying at Canada Christian College. And David works in IT, but he has a calling that has really brought him to Peterborough. And it's kind of a unique calling in that God's been speaking to him about planting a church among the homeless. And so that hasn't fully taken shape yet, but that seed is germinating in David. And David's a man of prayer. I think you're going to enjoy listening to what he has to say. So let's go to a kitchen just outside Peterborough, where I had my conversation with David. One of the things that gets to happen when I'm recording podcast episodes like this is I get to be in different places with different people. And so before we do anything and I introduce David to everybody, I just want to say thank you to Scott Cooper for opening his home and letting us sit in his kitchen. Clearly his wife is out for the evening because we're in here moving things around and setting up lights and making a mess. So welcome, David.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So David and I, we met. We were on a church planters network Zoom call, and I got to hear just the short 5-minute version of his testimony of coming to the Lord, and I right away I thought, I want to hear more about that, and then when the Zoom call went to breakout rooms, there were 4 of us in the breakout room together, so I got to ask you, and so thank you for saying yes to being on the episode. So, David, just to give people a bit of sense of who you are, tell us about your work and tell us about your family and also your studies that you're engaged in right now.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I work in an IT company for hospitality, and I work as interface manager, data quality.
Yeah.
So I manage the hotel data, Joe data specifically, from more than 1 million hotels worldwide. So just to make sure that what we
data management for 1 million hotels worldwide.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
So the company is seated in Cologne, Germany. So I work remotely from here in Canada.
Yeah.
And currently I'm at Canada Christian College, trying to secure an MD, Master of Divinity, a theological program towards to empower myself for the ministry.
Yeah. And so tell me about Agatha, and I don't think I know your kid's name, so tell me about what waits for you at home.
Oh, yeah, okay. My lovely wife, if you happen to watch this or listen to the podcast, yeah.
We don't have to tell her about it if you don't want to.
Okay, no, it's fine. My wife's name is Agatha, and she's she brings joy to me every day, and I feel very lucky to have her in my life. And we're blessed with 2 children, Ruth and Joshua. Ruth, she's 5, and then Joshua will be 4 next month, on the 7th.
5 and 4.
Yeah, so they're so close. Yeah.
What do you think of being a dad?
Oh, it's a blessing to be a dad, and so also it's a lot of work, also, and I'm grateful that God blessed us.
Yeah.
Even when we, when you get married as a young couple, you want to enjoy yourself, and for having kids, that was our plan. But
Yeah.
because we are children of God, we are open for God to intervene
Mm-hmm.
in our plans. So our kids came when we were not. They came earlier, like they just rushed into our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lord just brought them,
Yeah.
into our life when we were thinking, oh, we need time to enjoy ourselves.
We're professionals.
Yes.
We'll
Yeah, whenever
enjoy
we're ready.
life. And, yeah.
But God said, no, I'm ready now.
Yeah. Well, clearly
Yeah.
you and Agatha were ready to, because the Lord doesn't make a mistake in His timing.
That's
does He?
true.
Yeah.
True.
So going back to when you I heard you last week telling a little bit of your testimony. What I came away with in that meeting and thought, I need to hear more about this. You said that your dad, your father, who was Muslim, was given a vision that his son would become a pastor, and so that's a story I would love for you to share. So take us back to Nigeria and life as in a Muslim household, and where does this vision come in, and how do you end up today walking with Jesus? So let's hear that.
So I was born into a Muslim family. My family of 8 happened to be the 7th child, 4 boys, 4 girls. So when I was born, my dad was Quran instructor, a very
An imam.
an imam. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a very passionate Islam. He, the way customary what they have done, there was this imam in the Muslim community there who people regard as a seer. So he could see into your future. So like they did in all the other children. So they would take the child and take it to this imam. The imam will pray, and he will tell what this child will become. So that's usually why people take their children to him. So they took my parents narrated to me. They took me to him as usual, and then he as he carried me and he was praying, and he started smiling and told my mom and dad then, who were Muslim, and said, this child will grow up to be a pastor. and a pastor or a native doctor, what you would call in this day a witch doctor.
A pastor
Or
a witch doctor. Boy, that's good news for a Muslim imam.
No, it wasn't a good news at all. It wasn't a good news for them. And but my mom rejected, like what she told me in her heart. She rejected the witch doctor. No, my child cannot be a witch doctor. But pastor is not bad, because she had already identified as a Christian. Though, I mean, then their parents were traditional worshippers. But she grew up with her uncle who was a Christian. So she grew up in the West, the Yoruba land. So, she was happy in her heart, but she didn't say it. Later, she told me this. And so growing up, unfortunately for my Muslim parent, I was the only child who didn't like Islam. So I was rebellious. I was not, observing the prayers like my elder ones were, engaged. And also as a Quran instructor, he was teaching children Quran. I got a lot of discipline for not reciting the passages correctly, not memorizing correctly, and yeah.
And you cheated on Ramadan too, didn't
Yes,
you?
I cheated on Ramadan. I joined them to wake up to eat in the morning, 5 a.m. And yeah, pretend I was fasting. But during the day, I sneak to eat, a couple of times, and then in the evening, I just pretend I've been fasting all day.
Pretending to be a good
To
Muslim.
be a good Muslim, but
But you knew you weren't.
I was. So so at that time, my dad noticed this, but I was also attracted to Christianity in a way because we had Christians neighbor not so far away from us, and I just like their freedom. I loved the way they dress, the way they live their life. I just admire them. It was when I came to the Lord, I discovered that it was Jesus that was just that I was attracted to. Because Jesus is the head of the church. Jesus is the head of a believer. He's the one. So yeah, I was attracted. So I sneak to church with them, and then I come back. I get some serious discipline from my dad. I call it discipline. I won't say for lack of a better word. Let me use the word discipline. So I get a lot of punishment from him, and so it was then my mom now reminded my dad that we forgotten that this boy was. It was prophesied. I call it prophecy now. It was prophesied that he will walk this path. So it kind of brought memory back, and then my dad kind of reduced the punishment, but not like he didn't stop the punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So growing up in Islam, you had a certain reverence for Isa, Jesus, and for Mary.
Yeah.
And a high regard for the other scripture,
the Old Testament,
not the Quran, but also to a lesser degree, the Old and New Testament.
The Old Testament.
Yeah, more Old Testament.
Yeah, because
Abraham,
like Moses is Musa in the Quran and all that. So so some of the stories in the Old Testament actually are in the Quran. Though the narrative might a little bit be different, but it's the same.
So you grew up in a Muslim house. It was prophesied by the seer that you were going to be a pastor or witch doctor. Your mom hid the pastor part of that in her heart, rejected the witch doctor. And you secretly began going to church. And at what point did you make the decision, I want to follow Jesus, I want to be a Christian, I want to be baptized? How did that all fit in?
Yeah, so obviously not under my dad's roof. But as God will have it, I think, because of my destiny, I think God had to intercept, and miraculously, because it was the greatest miracle that happened in my family, that my dad converted. 1995, precisely. Converted to become. He was preached to by a Pentecostal pastor from a denomination called Deeper Life.
Deeper Life? Yeah.
Deeper Life Bible Church in
Okay.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
So he got converted, and he came home and said he's now a Christian. And it was a shock to the whole Muslim community. Looking at his position as the Quran instructor, so everybody looked up to him. So it was really a slap on the Muslim community. So we were kicked out from the place we were staying, because it was only Muslim that was allowed to stay in that community, that neighborhood. Yeah. So we were kicked out, and when we were kicked out, a Christian family, Catholic family, took us in, and because when we were kicked out, we my dad was like, it was just like, you have to leave now, right? So there was no time to quickly get home, so they took us in, they showed us so much love, and so yeah, and from there we now slowly got a place and moved in to a more liberal community.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was at that time that I began to. I was excited. I was the most happiest among the children.
Yeah.
I went to school the next day and told my teacher, my integrated science teacher, I said, I am now a Christian, and she's also part of this denomination, Deeper Life.
Yeah.
And then she was happy. She took me up and we were dancing, and then I told her I want to change my name.
What was your name?
My name was Dauda.
Dauda.
Yes, Dauda. So I said, can you give me a Christian name? I don't know any Christian name. Can you give me one? She looked at me. Okay. It was like a task, and I was like, She just looked at me and said, okay, you'll be called David.
David.
Yes. That's how I got the name David. So, but later I discovered that David means Dauda in Arabic.
Wow.
So
you got the same name.
I had to say, all the while I had to say it, but just in a different context, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so that's how my journey. So, but naturally, I just love to work for God. So I became. Okay, let me tell you how we got into Catholic Church, because even though we got. My dad converted to Christianity through Pentecostal. We were in the church, a Pentecostal church, but unfortunately, the doctrines were not graceful to us, because my mom, the first day we went to the church, my mom wore jewelries, dressed very flamboyantly, and the highlight of the sermon was that those who wear jewelries will go to hell.
Oh, went to the wrong church. Yeah.
So it was a really bad experience.
Yeah.
Imagine the joy I had.
Yeah.
And also my dad going to church for the first time. And so we got home from that service, and Dad said, no more church in this house.
So don't go to a joy snuffing church.
No. No more church. So they stopped going to church. But our friend with the Catholic family began to invite my mom, So she went with them one day, and she was welcomed with so much grace and love without judgment and all that. So that's how we found ourselves in Catholic Church. I went to Catholic Church. My parents remarried again in Catholic Church. And I, as this boy who has this calling in his life, I started working with the priest. I was working as a Masaba altar boy. So we have the priest during the homily and the service. So that's how. And then my parents were happy I was doing that, because they feel, my dad specifically desired that I should be a priest, a Catholic priest. But while growing up, I fantasized having kids. I fantasized about marriage. So one day I told my dad, I said, I like women. I will be a miserable priest if I follow.
So there's a progression here.
Yes.
In your father's house, you could not follow Jesus until your father followed Jesus. And now that he is a Christian, there's this sense of you should be a priest, Catholic priest, but going back to what the seer said, the seer didn't say a priest, he said a pastor. Yeah, interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I told my dad I won't go to the...
you like women?
Yes. I like women. I get attracted to women, so it would be
a
very miserable thing to stay without getting married.
Joy snuffer, right?
Yes. So, but when did I actually come? Even though I was serving in church, in Catholic Church, I was, working for God, but I wasn't saved. I was still lost, but I knew something was missing. So then when I was in high school, there's this organization called Scripture Union.
Yeah.
You know Scripture
Yeah.
Union. I think it came from the US, but it came with during that period it was a massive revival those guys brought from Nigeria, that every secondary school there was a fellowship.
Wow.
For high school students.
Wow.
So every day they have prayer meetings and Bible study in classrooms in school. So, and these people will come from outside and then do it, and then after a while they have some students who now do the Bible study in them. So they've been inviting me, like, being a Catholic, like these guys always speaking in tongues, praying, they look too serious.
Yeah.
So one day I was invited to come for their youth camp, holiday camp meeting. That was in 2002. In that meeting, August 10th precisely, I gave my life to Christ, and it was a day I will never forget. The same camp meeting on the 11th, I received the baptism of the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
In one of their evening meetings.
Yeah.
So it was from that moment things became very clear to me. I became like there was this joy. There's this clarity of purpose. I began like, God, there's something about my life. And then I began to pursue after God. But still I was in Catholic Church. I didn't leave. I got saved, but I went back, being a mass server, helping the priest.
Altar boy.
So, but I was reading my Bible. I was going for evangelism. There was one time I went to preach on the street as a little boy. Coming back home, there was a guy I met, and then I tried to talk to him. He gave me a dead slap. I got some. So there was a time that, even when I was beaten, I felt joy. Sharing the gospel. So that was where my journey with the Lord began.
So let's fast forward a little bit. You end up doing university studies in Nigeria, and then going to Bonn, Germany.
Yes.
And and it was in Bonn that you met Agatha?
Yes, my wife.
Okay, so that's a story I want to hear.
Okay, yeah. So I did my bachelor at Benson Dahusa University. I know Benson Dahusa, Archbishop Benson Dahusa. I went to his university. It was there actually. God opened me up to campus ministry because the school is unique in such a way that. When you come in, you don't just all is school, but you have opportunity to have a foretaste of leadership, ministry. So I was, before I went there, I did diploma in geology in a federal university, and then before I moved to the private university to do my bachelor in computer science. But before I even get to university at all, the Lord kept me at home for 2 years. After high school, I couldn't get into the university.
Wow.
In fact, that was the first year I was crying. I said, Lord, why? I serve you. Why? Even my friends, they've all gone to school. Why am I home? I was lamenting, but it was down 2 years of my life the Lord actually prepared me for the campus ministry. So that was when I really
had to grow first.
I had to grow. I had to learn a lot. Solitary. And
learning to wait.
To wait on the Lord. So so that was. So after my bachelor, I went to Germany to do my master's in computer science, and before then, let me just tell you when I really heard the call, though I was prophesied I'll be a pastor, but I really want to get the call for myself.
Yeah.
So I got that call in 2005 when I was doing my diploma in geology at University of Benin, Nigeria, Edo State. So So it was one of my time I was praying. There was this lady I liked then, and I was, wanted to start a relationship with. So as I was praying, the Lord, it was like a glory that came into my room, and God began to speak to me about the future. It's calling on my life. He told me to drop that relationship.
She wasn't the one.
No, specifically,
Yeah.
she told me that if I go into that relationship, I will be off my destiny. So he really spoke expressly. But I wrestled with the Lord because I didn't want to be a pastor at that time. Pastor was not because we were from a poor home, and I wanted to really, go have this career that I can make good money and take care of my family. And pastors were not really. I feel fine. They were doing the work of God, but it's not something that the kind of money I was looking for.
You don't become a pastor because of the money.
Exactly. So
Right.
I said I don't want to be a pastor. So I wrestled with the Lord, and I told the Lord that please, I have to go to school. And when that encounter happened, and the Lord did not say anything about don't go to school. I said, okay, I have to go to school. So I finished my, that's why finished my diploma, I went to do my bachelor, and then I went to Germany. So I met my wife, who came as a researcher in my university. She came for 1 year research on climate change and land use. And miraculously, a friend of mine invited her to our church, and as I
And she was Catholic, wasn't
yeah,
she?
she was Catholic.
Yeah.
You see this Catholic thing, she was Catholic, and she came to Bonn. And just to give you a background of before we met, there was a friend of mine who came to Bonn to do part of our PhD research. And we happen to be, she came from Cote d'Ivoire, but she's a Nigerian. She lives in Cote d'Ivoire with her husband and 2 kids. So she came after the 6 months. She went back, not knowing that the funding body that was funding our PhD was the same body that funded my wife's masters in Nigeria. So they knew in Ghana.
Yeah.
So when she came to Germany, she called her like, I'm not in Bonn. Yeah. I said, okay, I have this friend I want you to meet. His name is David.
Oh.
He's a very nice guy. I'm not trying to raise my that's the way she put it.
You like hearing those.
Yeah,
words,
yeah.
don't you? Yeah.
So he's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
I want you to meet him. He's gonna take good care of. He's gonna help you around, and he's not gonna take advantage of you.
Not gonna take advantage of you.
So when she heard that, and then after the call, she said my wife, later she told me that she knew in her spirit that this is the one. So for her, she said, I'm not going to look for him, he's going to look for me. But anyway, as God will have it, she later complied with God and came to our church, and that's how I met her the first time, and I just knew this is my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
Hi, my name is EJ, and I want to invite you to come to our city conference on February 25th, 2023. Our city conference is an urban ministry training event for people serving in urban ministry contexts. Our cities matter. Our city matters. In the 2021 census, it said that 73.7% of Canada's population live in urban centers. We are intentionally designing this event to help give urban ministry practitioners better tools on how they can serve their community better. We are praying that this event will not only encourage you and help you to serve your community better. We're also hoping that a bunch of us can get together and learn from one another. Register today. Go to our website, ourcitytoronto.ca. We'll even feed you. Food is part of the registration. Our City, Jane and Finch, February 25th, 2023. See you there.
So you didn't want to just play the game with her.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
You wanted
I-
to.
Yes, I
You
wanted.
wanted the Lord to be very much involved in this.
Yes, because it's I know these days there is this natural way of seeing someone and just moving ahead.
Yeah.
But for me personally, anyone I see and I like before I met my wife, I always take it to the Lord
Mm-hmm.
and say, Lord, I met this lady. She's so beautiful. She's intelligent. Should I go ahead to tell her my intentions? And usually what I hear is, son, walk thou before me and be thou perfect.
Mm.
He doesn't tell me to go ahead and with a relationship, but by my human will, I just go.
Yeah.
So I was in one relationship like that before I met my wife. So we broke up 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
After 2 weeks, I met my wife, and So when I met my wife, it was just clear. The Lord just told me, "This is your wife." And so when I saw her, the first thing I asked her was, "Where's your father's house?"
Where is your father's house?
Yeah.
So
Because I was
explain
sure.
that to me. Where's your father's house? Like, where are you from? Or
Yes, where are you from? So when you begin to ask a lady, "Where is your father's house?" It's kind of raises. It's like you're just jumping from relationship, like dating, and
yeah,
having a boyfriend and girlfriend to marriage. It's
this
like,
is serious.
this is serious.
Yeah.
I'm serious about. She was shocked.
And that was your first question.
That
for
was my
her.
first question. Yeah, and she was shocked, and then she was like, "Why are you asking this? I just want to know."
Mhm.
Yeah, because prior to that time, before she came to our church, my friend Tosin had already told me that we are from the same state,
In
Edo State,
Nigeria,
Nigeria. Yeah.
yeah.
So I really want to
Yeah.
know where she's from.
Yeah.
Because even though that I got that confirmation in my spirit that she's my wife, I wouldn't have asked her that question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in Nigeria, you need parents' consent to get married.
Hmm.
It's very strong.
Mm-hmm.
I know these days some people might not take it as serious, but it's a very, and I hold it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I needed to know, and then afterwards, after a month or two, I think I told my dad. I called my dad. I said, "Hey, I found a wife.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to take wine and
Mhm.
take your wife, which is my
Yeah.
mom, and go
Yeah.
and make known my intentions because
Go to her parents.
Yes, her parents.
Yeah.
Which is
How to talk
customary.
about this.
Yeah, which is customary
Yeah.
for us, and my dad did that.
That's an incredible custom. We don't have that custom here in the same degree.
Yeah.
When I got asked my wife to marry me, I also went and asked her parents. I'd like to marry her. Do I have your consent? But but that's a very family tight model of how to be with someone. Yeah. So where is your father's house? And so she also Lord was working in her life.
Yes.
And you told me about how when before she met you, she was every Friday she was fasting and
Yeah.
praying for who her husband would be.
Yes.
And then she told you about that.
Yes.
And what did you say?
When she told me, I told her to stop fasting because she has
Stop
found.
fasting.
Yeah, because you found your
Hey.
husband.
Yeah.
I'm the one, so that spiritual exercise should stop.
And what'd she say?
She said no. She's gonna stop until after marriage.
Until you're married,
Yeah,
she's going to continue
continue
to
to
fast and pray.
Fast and pray.
Wow.
I don't know where she got that from, but it sounds Pentecostal because she was Catholic,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know, but she has been, my wife, even though she was Catholic, but she was open to want to know the Lord. She had a lot of questions being a Catholic and all that. So she was open. I think she even gave her life to Christ, not knowing she did.
Yeah.
Yes, because she went to church with some of our uncles who are now Pentecostal, and she gave her life to Christ many times in those meetings. But she didn't even know that was. She said, "Okay, altar call. If you want to give your life to Jesus," and she did it. But she didn't really know the significance on the door that opened up for her, because where she was, that was not really taught, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas your father's house, because we're going to make a new house.
Yes.
Yeah. So how'd you end up in Canada?
Wow. For Canada, I've always wanted to live in Canada, even before I went to Germany. Okay, maybe I should share my story how I went to Germany.
Sure. Yeah.
It was miraculous. Actually, there was a time it was just a burden to go for my master's, so I didn't really have much funds to really pay international fees. Canada is so expensive. So at that time, after my bachelor, I didn't really get a job, so I started a business. So, but I was also I applied for Commonwealth scholarship with a friend of mine. He's in US now. He's a professor in US. Because both of us we did in Nigeria. When you finish your bachelor, you do what they call compulsory service for your country. It's called it's like paramilitary. So you'll be trained as in the military camp. But it's not that you go for any war, just like I think some weeks, and then afterwards you will now be dispatched to different places where you can work for the government, mostly government parastatals.
Community service.
Community service.
Yeah.
You do that for 1 year. So me and this guy, we met in that camp where we're doing this military training. So we became friends, and he always wanted to go abroad for studies. So he was always checking for scholarship, and then he found this Commonwealth scholarship. We did the exam together, went to the interview, we didn't make it. So he found Germany. So he found Germany and came and told me that, I could actually school for free in Germany. I said, you mean free? He said, yes, tuition free. No, zero tuition. I said, no, it's not possible. So he applied for this program in Germany and began to push, David, you need to apply. You have bachelor in computer science. They need bachelor in this program I just applied for. But I did engineering, but you are the first choice. So I said, no, I want to go to Canada. I'm saving money. So that was what I told him. I said, I'm saving some funds. So when I get enough funds, I will apply to schools in Canada. This guy did not relent. Every other day. To the point that the day that the application was ending, he came to my house and said, have you applied? I said, no. He took my computer. He applied for me. He was just asking me, what's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your this? What's your this? And give me all the documents. We had a scanner. He scanned everything and applied.
He maybe didn't realize it, but he was involved in the will of God for your life.
He was.
You would have met Agatha.
Yeah,
You just went right to Canada.
So so
you
grateful
might
to
be
that
a
guy.
lonely bachelor,
Yes.
or an unhappily married man with somebody else.
Somebody else, yeah. So that's how the guy applied for me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when the school responded back, I got the admission he didn't get.
Wow.
So I felt so bad. I said, oh God. So, but I prayed from my spirit for him. I said, you know what? God will open another door for you, and you will leave this country before me. That was what I said to him, and it happened.
Yeah.
And the Lord did it. He got admission in the US. He traveled in 2013. I traveled 2014.
Wow.
And now he's a professor of robotics in the US.
Wow.
So that was a guy God used to open up. So when I got the admission, it was then like, oh, Germany, which course he even applied for me? I didn't even know. Then I check, the course he applied is Masters in Robotics.
Masters in robotics.
Yeah.
Would you have picked that for yourself?
No, I would have picked that. I would have picked that.
Wow.
So when I got to Germany, I
So
started.
trust your friend, or be very careful about your friend.
Yeah. So
One or the other, right?
yeah. So, but it was good. It was just a doorway. So when I got
Yeah.
to the school, I didn't like the course. I
Mhm.
applied to pure computer science.
Yeah.
And I got it, and I switched university.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So you get married, and then you moved to Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I met my wife, like I said, I've always wanted to go to Canada. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got distracted from the
That's
actual
all right.
question.
Yeah.
So so when I met my wife, I told my wife that, baby, Germany is a transit for me.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to live in Canada. So later, when I moved to Canada, I said, okay, I'm fine. So after my school, before then, I was trying to put documents together to apply for express entry program, immigration program to Canada.
Mhm.
So my wife was already getting settled in Germany, and he said, no, I'm not going. I can't go to a new country, no job, nothing, to start all over again. Like, no way. So, as God will have it, she just sluggishly flowed with me, and we put in the application. And actually, the application is supposed to stay in the pool for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, okay, let's just put it there. It's 1 year. We are living our life. If they give us, fine. If it's the will of God for us to go to Canada, why not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I put in the application on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
By Friday, I got a reply. Apply. You are now picked to apply for permanent resident in Canada.
Wait, you applied when, and you heard
On Monday, 5 days, less than
5 days later.
5 days later, I was
It's
picked.
supposed to be a year.
A year.
Yeah.
Then I told my wife, I said, you see, it's God's been my life. No way. She needs to believe. So, okay, let's put in the application for the permanent resident.
Yeah.
To put in the application. Exactly 6 months' time, we got the visa.
Mm.
We got the visa to 2019, permanent resident visa, but my wife saying, it's okay, let's just come to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And you check it out. We stay for 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
If you like it, we'll come to Germany and then come back. But if
You're
you don't
already
like-
working
I was already working with this company
in Germany with
Germany
this company.
with this company.
Yeah.
So I was already working with them. So I took 1 month on my holiday, and we came during the heart of COVID.
Wow.
2020
Wow.
March. We actually landed Toronto Airport
Yeah.
March 27th,
Hmm.
2020.
Wow.
So the 1 month, half of it we were inside the room, inside the Airbnb in Square One.
Wow.
Lockdown. You have to do
Yeah.
quarantine and all that. So,
Yeah.
but luckily I have some friends from Asia. One of my beautiful friend. She was bringing food at our door. Everything. She did shopping for us.
Wow.
God will bless you too, Ryan. She's an amazing person.
What a time
Yeah.
to
So-
be moving
to moving, yeah.
a completely foreign country.
Foreign country. So we stayed, and then my wife began to fall in love with Canada.
Yeah.
We stayed 2 weeks in there. The other 2 weeks we were able to go out, go to the shop, and then so our friends, my friends helped him convincing her.
Yeah.
So then we went back to Germany and stayed. It was when I came to Canada that the Lord began to really put the burden of Canada in my heart to pray for revival. That was where the betting of praying for revival
The
started.
desire to come to Canada was there a long time.
It was there a long time.
And when you got here, the burden of prayer for revival.
God began to
Opened up.
open me up to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So when I went back to Germany, that 1 year I was there, I was praying for Canada, revival. It was during that prayer time God began to opened me up to the church, starting a church, and that's why through that I met you.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So he gave me the name of the church, and he told me specifically, take my gospel to the homeless.
Take my gospel to the homeless.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he told me that you will start your church in your basement.
In your basement.
And I didn't know what that is. In the German context, even though you're in an apartment building, the ground on the ground floor is usually called basement.
Yeah.
And it's just storage area. So
Yeah.
each flat has one, like a big room where you store things, but it's not livable.
You don't live in your basement.
You can't have a prayer meeting there. You can't do anything. So I didn't know what that is. So when we came to Canada, everyone was like, oh, actually basement, someone can live there. You know, and it's habitable, right?
Yeah.
So that was how God began to open me up to starting up a ministry and all that.
Well, it's interesting in listening to the journey that God has had you on, and recognizing that in cities all across Canada, we in Canada are now very much of a mission field, that people from other parts of the world are being sent by God to come to Canada to reach Canadians. And Canada is more like Europe than it is like the U.S. In terms of the spiritual climate.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that God, in His calling to you about starting a church in your basement, a church for the homeless, and that intrigues me because one of I want to hear in a minute about the miracle of moving to Peterborough, and maybe that's be the last question for you, is to tell that story about moving to Peterborough. But I just want to say before we get there about Bible says about Jesus, the Son of Man has no place to lay his head, right? In other words, he doesn't have a home of this world. In fact, he chooses by the Holy Spirit to make his home inside us. Yeah. And when we encounter those in Canadian cities that are homeless, they are often the most vulnerable of all our citizens. They are the ones that have to work really hard every day just to survive, and not too many people are doing them favors. So God calling you to establish a church for the homeless, that is so spiritual, and he brings you to Peterborough, which has a huge homeless problem. God's stirring up things in Peterborough. I know that, and you're part of that stirring. So let's talk about you and your wife, who are living in renting, a place in Mississauga.
Yeah.
And she starts saying to you, we should buy a home. But did she have a part-time job?
Yeah,
she had a part-time job and two little kids, and you're working full-time, I assume making pretty good money, but you work for a German company, so how in the world would you ever qualify for a mortgage? Yeah, as a newcomer to Canada, exactly. How would that work? So tell the story.
Yeah, so basically there was no, looking at our state at that time, where my wife was, pushing for this, there was no way we could qualify for a mortgage because, one, I don't have a pay stub here. You know, I get my salary in euros in my German account, and then I have to move it to my Canadian account for us to pay bills here. So that was how we're living, you know, for 1 year. So almost 1 year when this started happening, my wife began to push for this. So I said, okay, first, my job needs to be here, you know, and so, but as God will have it, because I don't know, maybe the Lord put this design, because all I was just obsessed about is just prayer, praying for Canada. I said, we are okay. Let's be content. God will do it. I know God told me we start our church in the basement, but I don't think it's now. But it's just the body I have is just to pray.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, but just tell me, give me go. I said, okay, well, this is what I said to her. I said, if you really need this, pray to be. Go and pray. She said, okay, thank you for the permission. So she began to pray. I was asked why praying. She was looking for realtor, looking for. So she did all the research and checking homes, you know, and then she found one realtor who told her zero, no chance for you. And she came to me and said, told me she had this meeting, she's going to have this meeting. And she came and said, how was it? I said, no, that's the wrong person. I'm going to look for another one. I said, what happened? He said, she's just speaking negative. I know there's a way. So, but while she was doing that, my company in Germany called and said, okay, there's need for us to move your contract to Canada.
Move your contract to Canada. Wow.
So I was like, okay. So how is that going to be? So there were some options that presented. I said, okay, one option is that because we want you in Germany, but you cannot be in Germany because we allow you to relocate. So either to tell you to stop working for us, which we don't want. Secondly, either to register a company here, you know, or we have a freelance contract with you, but there's a lot of German law it's a lot of work. So the only option is that we're going to look for a Canadian HR and payroll company that will employ you on our behalf. We pay them. So that was what Ina did. Wow. So 1st of May 2022, that was when I started my Canadian but still working for the same company.
Yeah.
So the Lord did that miraculously. So when that happened, so my wife got another realtor and then looked at our papers and he said, yeah, now the broker says, the mortgage broker said, okay, you guys qualify for a home of
540,000.
540,000.
Good luck in Toronto.
So then I was already moving because I was in UFT, Emmanuel College. So I was already changing my school to Whitby, the Canada Christian College at Whitby. So I said, okay, let's check around Whitby. Mississauga, no, we cannot. No chance for us with that amount in Mississauga. No chance in Ajas. Whitby, no chance. And then there was this friend of mine who we had New Testament class together, and it's not at Emmanuel, he's at Knox College.
Yeah.
And then I called him, I said, hey Robin, I have this issue, like, where can I get a home for this amount? He said, come to Peterborough, go to Peterborough. I think it's competitive, but it's not as competitive as Agers and the other areas. So just look at it. So immediately, then my wife went searching, and then she brought the list of this home she saw in Peterborough. And immediately I saw one of it. I just knew in my spirit. I said, okay, this is the one. She was like, how can you be the one saying, because you're in this, this home was none of your business before, but now you're saying this is
why are you trying
to take over this whole thing now? I said, no, I just feel in my spirit now, this is the home. Yeah. And then she was like, okay. I said, book appointment with the rector. So she called the rector. The rector said, okay, no, we have to get more because we can't drive 2 hours just to check on property. There's no chance. So we came to Peterborough, and then the day we saw the home, from the day we saw that home, and when everything was concluded was 6 days. And That's how we got the home. And God provided like miraculously. Yeah,
You got
everything.
it cheaper?
Yes, I got it cheaper. Should I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the seller of the owner of the home actually listed the home for almost 700,000.
Mm-hmm.
He got 3 people who put in an offer. For some reason, he just decided, I want more people to put in an offer. So he brought the price from 600 and something thousand to 499.99 thousand.
Yeah.
Almost like
200,000 less.
Less.
Yeah.
so that you can get more
You wanted
bidders.
the competition.
Competition,
You
you wanted, because you wanted more money.
yeah.
Fortunately for me, nobody bid it. So when at the time we came, the realtor that was marketing the home for him said, okay, one person promised to put in an offer tonight. So if you guys are interested, you can put an offer also. So say, okay, let the person put. And then the next day he called us and said, oh, the person did not put in an offer. So we were the only one who put in an offer. And how much did we put? You care to know? 500,000.
500,000.
Yes. And then we got a reply back from them and says, okay, a counter offer that
Yeah.
we should add 5,000.
505,000 was the counter offer.
That's kind of-
Yeah.
So, and we delayed. We didn't respond. The time they gave us to respond for that 505,000, and but the Lord still kept the home for us. And then we finally
When
responded.
God sets something aside for a purpose, nothing can take it out of His hand,
Yeah,
and
That's true.
including us.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So that's the story how we came to Peterborough. Our God blessed us with this home and now the basement.
Wow. David, thank you so much for taking time away from your family tonight to come and have this conversation. And I have no doubt that with the journey of discovery that you were on, that God who has proven Himself faithful is going to be faithful in every single step that
Amen.
comes next. And even though that idea of a church for the homeless needs to be unpacked and explored, and you didn't come this far just on a whim or a curiosity. You came because the Lord has ordered your steps, and so I'm so encouraged that God is sending Nigerians, Germans, people from all over the world to Canada to help us to reach our nation for Him. So thank you. Thank you for being here,
Thank you, my
and God
pleasure.
bless.
Well, thank you, David, for sharing your insights and your heart with us on the podcast. On the next episode, we're going to talk to another David Fisher. And David Fisher has been in Peterborough for a long time. And he is part of a community agency. He's the front man on an agency called Friends of Peterborough. And that's a downtown walk-in where they help people doing income tax returns, and they help them with resources. And David's got quite a fascinating story and journey. So please come on back next time where we'll learn some more about how God is at work in the streets of Peterborough. Until that time, I'm Kevin Rogers, and you're listening to Sidewalk Skyline Podcast.